This person says, I can't take a man who dresses up like a woman seriously. Jaiden made an inappropriate and woke video for children. That's why we are offended. Let kids be kids. What the hell are you talking about? What the fuck? So this is something I don't understand. Why is it that when conversations of sexuality are taking place, conservatives immediately think of children? This is what I'm curious about. The idea that it's inappropriate for children to understand that asexual people and aromantic people exist is ludicrous. How is that a bad thing? So like if a kid understands that there are human beings out there that don't have a desire to pursue romance or sexual engagements, how does that hurt them? Like, do you really think asexual people are predating on children? The people who don't want to have sex? Like, what are you talking about? So if you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you'll notice that I'm kind of a mom and pop live streamer and YouTube creator. I'm not exceptionally large. Currently, I'm at 18.2 thousand subs, but only a couple days ago, not even a week ago, I was at like 15,000. Something happened in the interim. We put out a video on Jaiden Animations about Jaiden coming out as being aromantic and asexual, and we looked at the video, went over some of the comments, and I just thought it was going to be another video. I expected it to do well, you know, because it's a trending topic, even though this video came out like a week after the thing actually happened. You see the standard thread of how many views my videos usually get, and wow, well, look at that. It's got 172,000 views. Hello. So, like, this is cool, I guess. I didn't expect this video to blow up like it did, and I guess I just got lucky with the algorithm. I think my title and thumbnail were very good. Obviously, it's about an 11 million sub YouTube channel, so you expect there to be a lot of people trying to watch content surrounding that. I am not lying when I say in the beginning of the video that I have no idea who Jaiden Animations was before this video, but now I do, and I'll probably watch more content as a result. It's very neat. There's a lot of cool new people that I'm watching, and I figured it'd be really cool considering there's like 5,000 plus comments on this video. Let's look at some of the comments. I thought that'd be cool. We could look at the comments, see what's up, answer some questions, look at some controversial takes, get to know the new viewership, make them feel seen and heard. We're doing bodies and spaces. We're doing liberal identity. I'm just, anyway. So let's get into it, I suppose. This person says, as an aromantic person, I think one of the reasons people, especially queer people, feel so coldly or aggressively towards aroace people is because they measure its validity based on struggles and suffering, which is not very visible until now. In the past, I had a friend who came out to me as an asexual, and I just brushed it off back then because I said ignorantly, no one really bats an eye when you're not attracted to anyone. Compared to me, a gay guy, if I start doing gay stuff, I could get targeted and harassed. The instant I realized I was aromantic, I apologized to her immediately. I was projecting so hard. So what's really interesting about this is there are a lot of people out there that, and I understand why they feel this way, they kind of define their marginalized identity based off of the oppression they experience from being a member of that marginalized identity. So in this case, their friend came out to them as asexual, and they say that because they understood themselves to be a gay guy then, they understand that they would face a lot of oppression for doing that. And, you know, what oppression do asexual people face? It's hard to see, as they suggest. The idea that a marginalized identity is only valid if they've experienced depression is silly and kind of self-defeating. It's a little weird. As an analogy for this is a big thing that TERFs, trans exclusionary radical feminists, usually cis women, will say when it comes to if trans women are women or not. Because they are transphobic, they are conservative and reactionary in their politics when it comes to social issues and specifically about trans people, they think that a woman is defined not only by the sociological elements as it pertains to one's own gender identity, or the biological elements as it pertains to one's birth, sex, and the variety of things that go along with that, but that TERFs also seem to think that women are also defined by the oppression that they experience being a marginalized group in comparison to men, which is the hegemonic power in society. Now, the weird thing about that is that it is self-defeating. The idea that a woman is defined by the oppression that they faced on the basis of being a woman, if you follow that logic line out, if the goals of feminism, which is the equality of all genders, is met, there are going to be no women, hypothetically, that will face oppression anymore on the basis of being in women. And if that is such a major part of what makes someone a woman, then women would cease to exist. Like, how can you define what a woman is if that's a major part of it, if we've achieved the aims of feminism and women don't face oppression anymore? It's kind of weird, right? And on the other side of this coin, there are some like more reactionary trans people that are kind of like the people that'll be like, oh my god, non-binary is just spicy cis. You're just saying you're non-binary to be part of a marginalized group for clout or whatever. Because I am a trans person, I have faced X kind of oppression and marginalization on the basis of my identity, and you really haven't, which is just a massive assumption with no real basis. So that means you're not trans. It's counter to the idea of the liberation of the marginalized group to define that group in whole or in part by the oppression they face. That's not to say that you should ignore the oppression that a marginalized group faces. It's just that it doesn't define that group. You don't need to face oppression to be part of that group. Anyway, this is a very good comment, and I very much appreciate them giving us their experience with this. It's a good comment, and I appreciate that. Oh, and by the way, just like I said in the previous video, the grand majority of all of the comments on this video are all positive. I will be trying to find the negative ones because I just find it fun to shit on, you know, dumb people. I will try to find that, but I'm gonna have to skip over a lot of the positive people because, god damn it, you fucking queer people are too positive and helpful and nice to each other. Spurn says, as an aroace person, I'm both super surprised this doesn't have 10k views already. Well, now it has 170k, so what? You look like a fool now, don't you? But also, I really appreciate that you, as someone who doesn't use the labels of asexual or aromantic, are still willing to understand, teach, and speak articulately about this topic. I think it really helps people who don't understand labels they don't wear. A lot of people aren't willing to listen to someone speak about their own label because they don't care, and so thank you so much for making this video and helping to bridge the gap. Hell yeah. Glad to do it. I mean, as a person with like a standard amount of empathy for my fellow human being, I feel like this should be like the standard. I don't think I'm exceptional in this regard. I think everybody should be doing at the bare minimum what I'm doing, which is trying to understand perspectives that I do not hold because I am not asexual or romantic. I should still be able to understand it and not be mad about it or whatever. Like, it is a very low bar that I have cleared here, and I appreciate that this person feels, you know, really happy to have seen my video on it, but I really don't think I'm exceptional in this regard. I do appreciate it. Anyway, this person says, that pressure from parents that you were talking about, like, oh, is that your boyfriend, girlfriend, really warped my view of relationships into my teens. It made me embarrassed to have a crush. My parents would always tease me when I'd have a crush on a celebrity or something. It got to the point where I saw having a relationship as taboo. And even though I was asked on dates many times, I always turned them down, even though I know I would have wanted to if I wasn't so ashamed from the teasing from my parents. So this person missed out on potentially, like, very formative and informative events in their youth because of this. If you're a parent, please don't do this. Your child will have natural attractions. Don't tease or make fun of them, just understand that it's normal and support them. Of course, when they're older, then talk to them about being responsible, avoiding abusive relationships and safe sex, etc. Just don't turn your kid into me, please. Yeah, not only does it reinforce heteronormative values onto potentially people that aren't heterosexual, or maybe they don't even understand themselves to be that, but they might find out later on in, you know, in their life. It can cause a lot of confusion and problems there too. It can also lead to literally the opposite of what you want. If you want to have, you know, grandkids one day, and if you want your daughter to marry a man and have like a standard nuclear family, because of what you're doing, you might actually be doing the opposite. Just don't be weird. Maybe. I don't know. It's a bit odd. Anyway, I've seen a lot of silly takes, and I hope we get to them. This person says, mind your business, quoting me. This is something people need to do more. I've started meeting a lot of LGBT people ever since I went to university. And while I've been curious before, like, is that a person, a guy or a girl? Is that person trans, or do they just like wearing skirts and dresses? I don't really care beyond a surface level curiosity. It's their life, and as long as they're being kind and not hurting people, I really don't give a shit about what they identify as or what they do in bed with other consenting adults. Yeah, this is the liberty, the libertarian, some may say, aspect of being on the left. The live and let live as long as you're not hurting anybody. It's kind of like a principle that right-wingers and conservatives will tout, like, oh my god, we're the party of personal liberty, when they're trying to control people and stop them from loving people of the same sex, like even consenting adults. They're trying to stop people from being trans, which is like literally the biggest command of the self, is to understand yourself so much that you are aware that your gender identity as it relates to your birth sex is not correct, and you're actually different from that norm. Like, that's an understanding of the self that goes beyond the standard human experience, and in that way is an exercise of literally the most personal liberty possible. They're against that, the right wingers. It's just really weird. Like, I've never felt the need to control people if they're not hurting anybody. I don't know what it is. Like, maybe it's insecurity on the part of right wingers. It's usually a lot of fear and just outright cruelty from a lot of right wingers. It's just very strange. I don't know. It's a product of a weak mind, unfortunately, which is what a lot of right wingers struggle with. A lot of people reciprocating the fact that, like, parents being like, oh my god, is that your boyfriend? Is that your girlfriend? It's weird as fuck. I knew I wasn't alone in that. This person said, this is unfortunately a huge issue when it comes to aroace or aroace people. As an ace person myself, I always get weird looks from other individuals in the community for not sharing the same quote-unquote feelings or experiencing these feelings. I've lost friends in the past who just wouldn't grasp the idea that I am simply not interested in anything sexual. To them, it felt like I was spitting out nonsense, but to me, it isn't, and I honestly don't care. I don't see why people are attacking Jaiden for coming out. If anything, I fully accept and support her for coming out. Being aroace is as valid as every other sexuality, and nobody can tell me otherwise. True! There is a lot of weird, like, very, 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 very marginal, kind of like infighting, if you could call it that, in the broader queer community around, like, is asexual in that realm. I explained in this video why, in my opinion, it is, but I will reiterate it probably later on in another video, in another comment that we'll get to at some point when I start fishing for the negative ones. But it is very true that this is an experience that a lot of people on the aroace spectrum do go through. This isn't it. Oh my God. Jesus. I'm just going to read the first part of this because that is a novel. This person says, just a suggestion on terminology. If you aren't aromantic or asexual, talking about me specifically, but choose a lifestyle where you don't partake in any partnerships, then it's celibacy. True. I say that I am voluntarily celibate. Now, celibacy is usually voluntary. The only times that it's not is when it's forced onto a person, usually through religious doctrine or so-called incels, involuntarily celibates, which are usually men, but anybody can be an incel. It's not a gendered term. It just seems to be predominantly men that, for whatever reason, maybe they don't think they're attractive enough, or maybe they don't think they have enough money or are successful enough. Maybe they don't think they have the charisma or a confluence of these factors. They feel like they are celibate out of their own control. Like all these Stacys just want all the Chads and blah, blah, blah. That shit's fake. That's all cope. But I choose to call myself a volcel or voluntarily celibate because I want to use that term as a direct attack against the idea of incels. Because in my opinion, there's no such thing as an incel. And if there is, it's such a small minority of people that it's not the usual experience. So for me, if you didn't watch the video, I have been celibate for the last 5 years or so by choice. And the reason for this is not because I'm asexual. It's not because I'm aromantic. I just don't care enough. Simply put, like, I don't care to put in the time to develop the relationships to achieve romance or sex. It's just not something that's super important to me, so I just don't do it right now. I've done it in the past, but I haven't cared to do it in the last 5 years. I've just kind of been in my Sigma grind set, as it were. I just kind of live my life, do the things I enjoy doing. I do my work for my YouTube and Twitch, do my exercise and chores every day, partake in some leisure activity from time to time. Sometimes I hang out with friends. It is what it is. Like, I think it's completely valid for somebody to have sexual desire, to have romantic desire, which I'm pretty sure I have both of, and just not want to do anything about it because you'd prefer to focus on other shit. I think that's a totally valid way to live your life. This person says, you are the only person I've seen react to this that isn't so fucking annoying. And I appreciate that, but I find that hard to believe as well. Honestly, the whole time I'm watching Jaiden's video, I was tearing up. I'm so proud of her. I just wanted to give her a hug for finally discovering this side of herself. I'm not aromantic or ace, but seeing her explain it so clearly and her experience was great. Hell yeah. This is what we like to see. This person says, Kanye, your mic clips a little bit. Is that a big problem for you? Sorry. So this is a cool comment. This person says, always cool to see someone outside of the community talk about us. You're half right about asexuals in the first bit. A lot of asexuals do have sex for those reasons. The reasons, by the way, in the video, I describe is that some asexuals are demi-romantic or demisexual or whichever one, where they won't feel a desire to have sex with a person until they've reached a certain level of intimate connection with them, usually romantically, and then they're willing to do it. There are some asexual people that just have sex for fun because they don't have a desire to do it, but the actual physical activity is still interesting to them. Some people will do it in order to make their partner who isn't asexual enjoy the experience, and they do it out of a feeling of love and appreciation for their partner, even though they might not have the desire to do that themselves. And this person goes on to say, and many others have as well, just thought I would mention that there are also people like me who are extremely sex repulsed. This is one thing that I didn't mention in the video, and I don't think Jaiden mentioned either, the idea of being romance repulsed or sex repulsed, genital repulsed. Thus, we can never do anything sexual, even if we have an allosexual partner. I've had a lot of people assume that my disgust stems from sexual trauma, but I've never had anything of the sort happen to me. I just am this way, and that's one of many asexual experiences. Basically, if you put something sexual in front of me, I'd react the same way an arachnophobe would if you put a huge tarantula in front of them. Horrified, disturbed, disgusted, nauseated, panicked, etc. And there's nothing weird about that. I don't think. Like, some people just don't find the idea of sex interesting. Some people find it disgusting. The only way that becomes a problem is if you try to force that view on other people, like, oh my god, nobody should be having sex because I personally think it's icky. But I don't know asexual person is doing this. The broad consensus here is that as long as you're not hurting anybody and you got consenting adults doing it, who fucking cares? Oh, this is a longer message, but it seems to be somewhat respectfully combative, so let us engage in the marketplace of ideas. This person says, I loved your overall message that we all have a choice to do as we like, whether we have certain preferences based on what's innate or what we choose. Brilliant, well done. The two biggest points I disagree with, the first one being the choice of conception. Absolutely, people have a choice to conceive for the sake of continuing family or deciding not to. That's all well and good. I would disagree with you saying it's weird. When did I say that? Because as you have previously stated, it is for the sake of continuing the species that when we needed more of us on a mass scale. So of course some of that can carry over, but it's not as weird as it would seem. I think I said that in terms of society broadly, not my view, but society's view broadly, is that people who are asexual are deviating from the norm and are that way weird. Right? I think that's what I was saying. Maybe they misunderstood. And in addition to this, in regards to, you know, the sake of continuing the species, I remember talking about it in an evolutionary sense where, like, literally in the past, human beings had to procreate in order to survive. We're not at that point now anymore. We're not hurting for people. And we also have the ability to continue to reproduce even if everybody was asexual or homosexual or whatever else. But anyway, it would be weird in that context as well because it just deviates from the norm. Perhaps weird is not the best word because there's usually a lot of like moral condemnation that comes with that word. I don't mean to have that on there. I mean weird as in deviates from the normal expectation as society sees it. Not my opinion. Anyway. The second point I would disagree with is people claiming to be a part of a certain queer group for some level of acceptance. As humans, we have a base need for herd and tribalistic mentality. Often when we do not meet that, we will not have a sense of purpose. It is not a stretch to say someone might do this for attention, but of course, that's not to discredit anyone of any said. Yeah, I don't think I discounted the idea that people might pretend to be a certain gender identity or sexual identity for the purposes of clout or interest in their person. It's just that, for one, the amount of people doing that are infinitesimally small and completely irrelevant when it comes to the rights of the people that, I guess in this way, actually are, quote unquote, those identities. And for two, you have no way to know regardless. There's no way a person can prove to you if they are said gender identity or sexual identity. There is no way you can know. It is unfalsifiable. So to focus on it at all is a lost cause. There is no point. There is no way you can prove that you are gay to a person. There's no way you can prove you're straight. There's no way you can prove you're asexual. There's no way you can prove that you're trans. You just are or you aren't, and it's a lot of having to take your word for it. And if you want to talk to the person more, you can inquire about their experiences if they want to give that information to you, and yada, yada, yada. The sex of resume. You need to prove to me that you're gay. Okay? So that means that you have to engage in sexual acts in front of me as, you know, with another consenting adult and yourself as another consenting adult. Okay? Listen, that's a level of kink that I will not engage in. I'm sorry, I'm not into that. But some conservatives seem to be. Oh, this is one. This person says, I've never watched this person before. I don't know their pronouns. If their pronouns were mentioned in the video, then I missed it. I love their energy and how they talk. They kept my attention very well, explained things very well. They have really pretty hair and nice eyeliner. Just wanted to say that. Also, Jaiden Animations is awesome. I really appreciate that. So for those of you who don't know, if you've just found me here, I am a trans non-binary person, and I use any and all pronouns. I use any pronouns. I do not care which ones. So essentially, the take is this, okay? It is up to you to decide. The way that you perceive me will determine what pronouns you want to give me. That is up to you. I do not care. Most people will default to he, him because of my voice. Usually. I do present more femininely. I intend to present even more femininely in the future, but currently I present to varying degrees of feminine and sometimes more masculine. However, they, them, also cool. I get that a lot from people as well because people just use that as the standard pronoun before they find out if somebody has more preference for another or not. And then she, her is also cool because I hear it the least, and it's just neat to hear it because I've been hearing he, him my whole life, and I haven't heard she, her that much, so hearing that is cool. But it doesn't really matter. You can't misgender me, and it's up to you to decide what pronouns to use. You're welcome. All right, let's try to find some negativity. Because I've gotten bored of all the positivity that all of you absolutely wholesome queer people have been in the comments, and even non-queer people, I'm now searching for some negativity to spice it up a little bit. This person says, fuck you guys. All of you are just snowflakes who don't feel comfortable in your own skin and can't handle what has been done for hundreds of thousands of years. Grow up. completely incomprehensible. What the fuck are you talking about? They go on to say, also, asexual is normal. It just means you don't like, quote unquote, anyone. It just doesn't make sense when people can't be themselves. This is an entirely incomprehensible thing, but I'm going to try to decipher the hieroglyphics here and kind of figure it out, okay? So they say, fuck you guys, which assumedly means fuck you. That's typically what that means. All you are just snowflakes who don't feel comfortable in your own skin. Except Jaiden in the video literally talks about how now that she understands herself to be aroace, she is more comfortable and confident in her own skin now than she ever has been. In addition to this, literally everybody else in the comments of these videos is reciprocating that idea, that now that they understand themselves to be asexual and aromantic, they are now more comfortable in their own skin than they ever have been. This might be a bit of projection on your part, Connor. Why aren't you comfortable in your own skin? Because all these other people I'm seeing seem to be, because they understand more about themselves than probably you understand about yourself. Can't handle what has been done for hundreds of thousands of years, meaning that human beings as an organism reproduce sexually. What do you mean can't handle? There is no asexual person out there that's like, you know what? I think human beings should go extinct. Nobody should be having sex and we should stop reproducing. I'm pretty sure if you try to find the asexual or aromantic person out there, that's not going to be the take you're going to get. You're going to have some difficulty figuring that out. I don't know what you mean by can't handle what has been done for hundreds of thousands of years. Asexual people have existed for hundreds of thousands of years. There have always been people that have not felt an interest or desire to be engaging in sexual engagements. Now, perhaps they still did for the propagation of the human species. So like I said earlier, if literally everybody in the world was asexual, all of them, I'm pretty sure we would still engage in reproduction via sex or in vitro fertilization or whatever it's called, in order to not go extinct. I think human beings have enough of a drive to survive to do that. Maybe you have less faith in the human species than I do, but I don't know. Like, very silly. That's not based. What's not based? Based on what? Stupid. There's actually, I don't know if we'll find more of them, because there's a lot of right-wingers in here that like, oh my god, you people don't even know what based means. Like, that's not what based means. Like, fuck you. Based is things that I like, cringes, things that I don't like. The reason they get mad about this is because they co-opted based from Lil B the Based God, who was not using it as a dog whistle for right-wing ideas. They co-opted that from a black man because conservatives have no culture, they just steal it from marginalized groups, to mean based equals being right-wing, being red-pilled, quote-unquote. But because everybody's using based now because they didn't come up with it to begin with, now they get mad because it's not a good dog whistle anymore. That's not based in. Shut the fuck up. Stupid bitch. Ha! This is a fun one. This person says, I can't take a man who dresses up like a woman seriously. Jaiden made an inappropriate and woke video for children. That's why we are offended. Let kids be kids. What the hell are you talking about? What the fuck? So this is something I don't understand. Why is it that when conversations of sexuality are taking place, conservatives immediately think of children? This is what I'm curious about. The idea that it's inappropriate for children to understand that asexual people and aromantic people exist is ludicrous. How is that a bad thing? So like if a kid understands that there are human beings out there that don't have a desire to pursue romance or sexual engagements, how does that hurt them? Like, do you really think asexual people are predating on children? The people who don't want to have sex? Like, what are you talking about? Like, this whole accusation of, like, so-called grooming or whatever, which is, like, the major thing that the right wing is weaponizing in order to mandate child abuse of children around the country. DeSantis is doing this. Greg Abbott in Texas is doing this. Literally, state legislatures around the country are trying to legislate child abuse. Literally. Like, I'm not joking. I've made videos on this. You can look at it. It's up there. And there it is, the grooming accusation. Ideology that is friendly and lenient to pedophiles, says the person who is, I would assume, conservative, and conservatism, which has a higher correlation to child abuse, and also is striking down arranged marriages, and through bills like the bill that has been proposed in Florida, his actions with the department that is supposed to be for the protection of kids, going after the parents that are affirming of their child's gender identity. They are literally trying to mandate child abuse as well. Any such accusations are always going to be projection. They are just calling the left, broadly in this case, Democrats, pedophiles, groomers, etc., as a way to deflect and as a smokescreen for the fact that that's literally their ideology. They like it. Conservatives, big fan of child abuse. They do it often. Anyway, sorry. So it says, this video is 100% woke trash. It's facts over feelings, not feelings over facts. Get it right. This person, by the way, disagrees with the medical and scientific consensus on the difference between biological and sociological concepts when it pertains to sex and gender. They literally disagree with the facts of the matter. Literally, the experts on the issue disagree with them and their ideology. Just by the way.
So you just not understand the concept of base, or is this just another case of attempting to appropriate a term you don't get?
This is a very sad 4chaner that tried to appropriate the term based from Lil B the base god to mean right wing, and then everybody else who isn't right wing is now using it, so they can't easily identify other degenerate right wingers because of people using it. By the way, that's why they get mad. Very silly. And you made a video out of it for the clout? Yes. However, a lot of the people in the comments suggest that my video and Jaiden's, but specifically mine because they're commenting on mine, has helped them understand more about the topic. So not only did I do it for the clout, which I absolutely did, I'm a content creator and a public figure. No shit, that's part of the job description. But also, it's helped people learn more. Honestly, she's getting hate because she's a clown for making her personality a gender. All people are, it's on that. What the fuck are you? This is literally the first time she's talked about it, you fucking moron. What do you mean her personality out of her gender? First of all, she never talked about her gender identity. She talked about being asexual and aromantic. You fucking moron. Secondly, it's the first time she's really talked about it. It's the video where she's coming out and talking about it. So the idea that she's made it her entire personality is just factually incorrect, because you can see the entire catalog of her content and understand that this shit isn't talked about in all of it. What are you talking about? One of the comments under her coming out video was someone complaining about straight people being more rare nowadays. Now the population is declining. Oh, good heavens. It's actually true. There was actually a thing on Twitter. Maybe I could find it. Does anybody have it? It was a thing like 1 in 5 Gen Zers identify as some sort of LGBTQIA+, and then there's a right-winger that was like, this is not good. This is very bad. Does anybody have that tweet? Aha! This person is a whomegalol on Twitter. Evangelical Christian, Bible and Constitution enjoyer. GOP outreach as well. So they have a screenshot here from a news and opinion article from unknown source, because we've decided to clip out from where this article is at. It says, the future is gay. New survey reports that 1 in 5 Gen Z adults identify as LGBTQ. A record number of Americans self-identify as LGBTQ according to a new Gallup survey. LGBTQ identification in the United States has reached a new high thanks to Gen Z. And it's a good thing. And you know why this is the case? It's because of education. It's because people understand that it's okay to be any flavor of the LGBTQIA+ spectrum. It's not a problem. You're not hurting nobody. It is what it is. In fact, these numbers would have been higher in the past if not for the amount of suppression that conservatives were trying to force onto people through legislation and through social stigma. Asexual people have always existed. Straight people have always existed. Literally, all of these identities are not new. It's just that we have more education and more of an understanding about them, because that's literally the idea of trying to find facts, right? That's what science is about, trying to understand and learn more about things that we don't understand. Anyway, cope and seethe about it. Uh-oh. Oh my God. What is this Bible verse? The verse says, if you find zero sexual or intimate attraction to no other human being at all, that's a mental issue. You've closed yourself off for so long, now your brain can't even recognize what it's supposed to be attracted to anymore. And looking at Jaiden's past through the information she's given us about her life, I can easily see why. She's in her house all day playing Pokemon or drawing. Her intimacy has been completely sealed away for the rest of her emotions. That's unnatural. The literal reason why we are alive is to reproduce and make sure our genes survive. It's why every living organism on the planet Earth does. Humans are no exception. All those years of not socializing has messed up her brain. How the fuck do you know anything about this? What? How do you know what she's doing? How do you know she doesn't have friends? She literally has podcasts. She has a team of like 13 people that work with her to produce the content that she produces, not only on her main channel, but I imagine there's other projects she's working on. It seems like she's constantly socializing. She's probably socialized more than you, which is why she has an abundance of evidence that she doesn't feel romantic or sexual attractions to other people. That's kind of how you figure that out, right? Like the way you figure out, in part anyway, that you're asexual or aromantic is literally by going out into the world, socializing, and then finding these things out with the interactions you have with other people. I think this person's projecting a little bit. I wonder when the last time this person went out and socialized. It might be a basement dweller, which this person's trying to say Jaiden is.
Asexual is abnormal. Science doesn't care about your political or moral beliefs. Humans haven't changed physically for—
You're fucking stupid. What do you mean political or moral beliefs? To be asexual is not a political or moral belief. To be anything on the spectrum of sexuality is not a political or moral belief. It is literally, oftentimes, biological. You understand that, right? There are some people that have biological desires that are like hardwired in them to be attracted to a certain thing, to be attracted to the same sex, the opposite sex, to not have any attraction at all. The mental processes, the psychology behind all of this is also not political or moral, because it is literally the way the person's brain works, how they understand and conceive of themselves and the world around them. It's this guy wearing makeup, yes, but only eyeliner. Give it time. I'll get into my full-on e-girl makeup arc at some point. I'm just kind of lazy. Another person getting mad. Oh, so now people who are straight are degenerates. Like, really? This person's mad. Person's real mad. What does this mean, by the way? So now people who are straight are degenerates. So if you understand the history of how this word is used, I use it in a reclamatory sense because I've literally been called a degenerate as a means to dehumanize me for being gender nonconforming, for being non-binary, for being trans, for being pansexual. I'm reclaiming the term, okay? But usually this term is used against people that deviate from the norm. So people who aren't straight, people who aren't white. Usually. That's how people interpret that. That's how, Nazis will use the word, for instance. So if this person understands that, it might be a little, indicative of their broader thought process about like, oh, so now straight people are degenerates? I thought that was relegated only to gay and black and brown people. Like, it's a little weird, man. A little strange. A little telling on yourself here, maybe. I don't know. We'll see, I guess. Oh boy, another one.
It's not weird. The pressure from the parents, it's essential for human survival. It's not degenerate.
It was a joke. The degenerate part of it is forcing people to conform to your worldview where everybody has to be straight when that's obviously factually incorrect. Gay people have existed since the dawn of time. There are literally animals in the animal kingdom that participate in homosexuality. That was the joke. I'm making fun of you. Without heterosexual people, humans go extinct. Not true. You ever heard of surrogacy? You ever heard of in vitro fertilization? You ever heard of literally if human beings are on the verge of going extinct, they will likely procreate regardless of their sexual identity? Like, you really have such little faith in human beings that if literally everybody on Earth was turned into an asexual person, they wouldn't still engage in sex in order to procreate and prolong the survival of the species? You really think they would let themselves go extinct? I don't think so, because I'm not a fucking stupid loser. Anyway, it's not that hard to understand. Biologically speaking, there needs to be pressure to have kids. Shut the fuck up, stupid bitch. Anyway, I'm done. I'm repeating myself at this point. Sorry. Sexual orientation isn't sexual behavior? Exactly. But conservatives like to conflate the two, which is interesting. So immediately when a conservative person thinks of a sexual orientation, they go immediately to envisioning the sexual act, it would seem, for some reason. So like, this is the idea why in a clinical, sterilized setting, using very sanitized language to talk about biological concepts to kids who are of age, to talk about them, is seen as like weird and degenerate to conservatives because they immediately think like, oh, they're in this classroom and the teacher's like, okay, this is how the fucking sex works, and this is doggy, like, that's not happening. I don't know if these people never had sex ed in school. It is very sterile. It's usually like, okay, this is a sperm, this is an egg, this is the penis, this is the vagina. Here are literally like anatomical diagrams of the different parts of what makes it work, and when the sperm meets the egg, that's when baby's formed, and then an embryo, and then it becomes a baby 9 years later. It's very, very sterile. It's very simplified because it has to be for kids to be able to understand it to the extent that they can learn more in the future when they're older. Like, it is very simple. New to the channel and love your thoroughness and insight. I really like that you touched on the fact that it's okay to have an intimate/passionate connection to your gender or sexuality, and that it is also okay to not give a shit. As someone who does view their sexuality as very important to them while also not giving a shit about their gender, that was really interesting and nice to hear. I feel like both sides can be super unreasonable about that. You've got the crowd that's super annoyed and angry when people are loud and proud about their gender identity or sexuality, and then you also have the crowd that thinks that everyone needs to be loud and proud about it, and it's like, why? There are so many things that go into making a person who they are. Sometimes what's important to you is not important to someone else. Yeah. So the reason why this happens, by the way, just to elucidate a little bit more, the reason why there are a lot of people that are very out loud and proud about the fact that they are in the LGBTQIA plus spectrum is because of visibility. It's for the purposes of normalization. Because being gay or anything else in the spectrum is normal, and because of the fact that conservatives and right-wingers have tried to suppress that for as long as they could through violence and social stigma, the idea that you would be out loud and proud about it normalizes the idea that a very normal thing to be which is any flavor of queer, it just normalizes that that's an okay thing. It makes it so that people are less resistant to it, even if they don't share those identities, and it allows for people who do share those identities to learn more and understand, wow, there's other people out there like me. That's literally the whole point of Jaiden's video, is to explain aromanticism and asexuality to people as it pertains to her own experience, but also in a general sense. And then you see, as a result of her video, all of the people being like, oh my god, like, she was mentioning some shit in here, and that resonated a lot with me. Like, now I think I might be aromantic, I'm gonna look more into it. Now I think I might be asexual, now I'm gonna look more into it. That's the whole point of being loud and proud about it. So it's not a problem, it's a good thing. I've actually heard of this recently from a bunch of comments, I think, or at least a couple. So it says, off topic-ish, but Jaiden actually has a conure type of bird, and she's made a video about him. Just thought it would be interesting given your username. Yeah, I learned about this after I put out my video on it, which is just cool. Hell yeah, let's go. I am named after a genre of bird, a conure. I think if I was to be a bird, I would be a turquoise green cheek conure. If you know, you know. I just like birds generally. They're one of my favorite animals, and I thought the name was cool, that's all. Oh, okay, this is the one I was looking for. Oh boy, are we ready, chat? So this person says, here's some criticism I really hope you read and take to heart. People hyping up one identity is not a personal attack on your own identity. I imagine they're saying your as in like the, what is it, like the royal your? Like your meaning whoever is reading, not just me. As a pan person dating an ace person, I don't understand how people think this way. I'd love for my partner to feel how Jaiden does about her identity. Unfortunately, most aroace people tend to have all of society's allonormative bullshit shoved down their throats, sometimes in very traumatic ways. So the allonormative meaning that like people that have a sexual desire of any kind. So they're talking about like the normal expectation for people to be allosexual. Bullshit shoved down their throats, sometimes in very traumatic ways. It's a delight to see an aroace person who for once hasn't been traumatized into believing they're a shell of a broken human being or worse. So this person is referring to when I said that I thought it was just somewhat weird that the way that she was phrasing certain elements of her confidence when it came to the fact that she understands herself to be asexual and aromantic. So she says that she thinks that being aroace is one of the coolest things you can be, to be confident in that. And she goes on to say that not needing a single gram of romantic or intimate validation from anyone is so cool. The problem that I had with that was not in what she's saying, but how she's saying it. And I said this in the video. I feel broke and I feel like I'm not what I'm supposed to be. And we're trying to like juxtapose that with, no, I feel very confident, Jaiden says, about being aromantic. Yeah, and I go on to say that I know what she's doing. I know that she's just trying to portray herself as very confident in this because she is. I don't think that's a problem. I very much appreciate that. I can understand what we're doing here. I can understand wanting to portray this identity with this amount of confidence because like it's who you are and it's not a thing that people are very aware of. So to be very confident about it not only is good for the self, but is good for people's perception of you and is good for other people who might be hesitant to think about these things for themselves or even come out as aroace if they happen to find out that they are. However, this idea that people that are not need the quote-unquote validation from other people, romantic, sexually, or otherwise, is kind of weird to me. Because it kind of, unless there's more to be said after this, to say that it kind of like demeans people that do have romantic and sexual desires. Because there's a whole host of problems that exist on either side. If you're aromantic, asexual, you got issues that go along with that. If you're not, you got issues that go along with that. And it seems kind of weird to be like, oh, well, excuse me, but I don't need that. You know, I don't need to be validated by other people romantically or sexually, which is kind of to suggest that the people that do kind of need it, and if they can't get it, then they're kind of lesser or, you know, I can understand what's being done here. But I would want to be careful about that because there is absolutely nothing wrong with feeling the desire to want to have a romantic or sexual engagement with a person. I don't think that's an issue. I don't have a problem with her confidence. I do not have a problem with her confidence, and I don't see it as an attack on my identity. What I'm saying is that it seems a little weird to me, and I can see how some people could see it this way. The idea like, oh, well, I, as an aroace person, like, I don't need any romantic or intimate validation can be seen from some people as like, oh, well, those people do need that. And like, you're just not as cool as me because you need that, when that's not fair, I don't think. There are people that do feel the need for romantic and intimate relationships, and I don't think that's a problem. And there are people that struggle with that too, for a variety of reasons. I don't think that's an issue. And the idea that like, oh, look, ooh, I don't need to be validated like that. I think it could be seen a little bit weirdly. I think I was very clear about it, but maybe not as clear as I could have been. They want to say, bringing up evolution as a justification toward people being snotty and aphobic isn't exactly a good look. In fact, it's giving off major Adam's Eve, not Adam and Steve energy. What the fuck are you talking about? We as human beings are not wild beasts who have to give in to primal quote-unquote urges to imply such with your statement on aphobia exists because evolution is the only real invalidation of other sexualities. I don't know where the fuck I said that. I don't know that I ever said aphobia exists because of evolution. I just said that I can understand how some people find it to be. So I'm just trying to explain some of the reasons why some ignorant people, so people ignorant of aromantic and asexual identities, might feel that it's a little bit weird or abnormal, outside of the norm. I'm not condemning it, and I'm not trying to provide justification for it. I'm just trying to give you some information about how people who don't have as much knowledge as you do on the topic might interpret it before they've been given that information. They want to say, I say this because aphobia isn't about evolution. Yeah, no shit. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that because of the hardwired element of the fact that we need to procreate to survive and continue the species until relatively recently in human existence, it's a kind of a hard thing to shake off. It's kind of a hard thing to undo and unlearn. So people's conception of asexual and aromantic identities might be warped because of it. That's all I'm saying. And they go on to say, it's about ego-fueled allosexuals, meaning everyone who is an ace, feeling as though they're entitled to fuck whomever they want and feeling insulted that there are people out there who have no interest whatsoever in them. I feel like there's a bit of projection on their part about their own experiences, maybe not about themselves, but that they've heard from other people who are ace or asexual. What did they say in the beginning? So I don't think this person is ace. They say they're a pan person dating an ace person. So they are not ace, but their partner is. It seems like you're projecting the things that your partner has said, which I don't doubt have happened. Like, I don't doubt that that person has gone through a variety of oppression and marginalization as a result of their sexual orientation or identity. But like, this is not what I'm doing. And the idea that that's where all the aphobia comes from, I don't think is true. Feeling insulated, that there are people out there who have no interest whatsoever in them. So it's like, ooh, like, these people want to fuck everybody, but I don't want to fuck them. So like, like what? Because their ego is bruised by the fact that someone doesn't find them attractive, they take out that perceived slight as hatred toward aroace folks. This can happen. I think I talk about this in the video. The idea that there are people out there that have such a desire for sexual or romantic engagements, if they're allosexual or is alloromantic a thing? Whatever the same thing as that, but for romance. These people will feel sexual and romantic desires, and they might struggle about that innately. There might be people who struggle finding romantic partners. They might struggle finding sexual partners, even though this is the thing that they desire, which is not abnormal, that desire. So when they hear somebody else say that, oh no, I'm asexual and aromantic, I don't feel such a desire, those people, because they have struggled with those issues themselves, not being aroace, will then be like, oh my god, well, you don't have such an issue? Like, what the fuck? This is weird. Like, I've struggled so much, and like, this is not a thing you have? That's obviously an ignorant point of view, because obviously asexual and aromantic people do struggle as a result of their identity, and those people are ignorant of it, so they don't understand that. Like, I don't know. I feel like this person is arguing against things that I have not said, but I found it important to respond to it. Bro says, it's crazy you don't even have 20k subs, you're making pretty good content. It's so true. Many are saying this. A small mom and pop YouTuber, potentially temporarily embarrassed 11 million sub YouTuber, might make it to Jaiden Animations level one day. Who knows? By the way, I've had a lot of confidence issues when it comes to my content for a long time. I've been in the game for almost 4 years now, I think. It is only until like the last year that I've started to feel really confident about my content and the things that I do and the way that I deliver the information. So feels good. If you are also a content creator and you're struggling with similar confidence issues, the more you do it, the more you practice, the more you learn about things that you could be doing better, the better you will get. I believe in you as well. Spread says, I feel a really common misconception is that aroace people are antisocial. This is also really true. The idea that, oh, just because somebody doesn't have romantic or sexual desires for other people doesn't mean they can't form platonic friendships. It's a very silly idea and kind of indicative of anybody who holds that viewpoint of how they interact with others. So like, if for like a straight man to interact with a woman, they are literally doing it for the end point being sex, like, because that's how they see it, because they can't conceive of a platonic engagement with somebody of the opposite gender or whatever, or sex or whatever the fuck. Like, very silly. Oh boy, here we go. All right, this might be one of the last ones we read. This person says, okay, great video, but the only issue was the start. I haven't watched any of your other content, so I have zero clue if it was a joke or not. But either way, while I know it's shitty of parents to pressure their children, but it's not weird considering it's natural for a species to want to reproduce. They're also reproduced by breeding kinks or blah, 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 blah. So they're talking about the straights are pushing their degeneracy onto other people. That part was a joke, though it's also hinting at the fact that heteronormative expectations are forced onto kids very young, and straight parents will often do this, and it's kind of weird in my opinion. But anyway, maybe I'm too edgy for some people. I feel like I'm really not, but so many people are reciprocating the fact that they've had weird experiences with their parents being like, oh my god, is that your boyfriend? Is that your girlfriend? So like the beginning of the video, completely defensible. Yes. Rose says, I've never seen your content before, but you're very obviously educated on the topic of sexuality, and so as an aroace person myself, I can say I thoroughly enjoyed and appreciated your reaction, the way you perceive aromanticism and asexualism, especially as someone who doesn't class themselves as either. Hell yeah. However, I will say I'm stupid as fuck, but I appreciate that I give off the veneer of intellectualism, okay? I'm not like I said in the video, I'm not like a gender studies, sexuality, PhD major, whatever. Like I have a high school diploma. I've learned a lot of this shit from existing and reading about it and other people's experiences online. It says, I'm a first-time viewer on this channel, and when I first saw you, I thought you were a guy. Then I looked closer, then I got confused. Then I forgot about it. As you should. Let's go. Listen, this is the way to be, okay? If you have some confusion about, if I'm a boy or a girl or whatever, and then you just forget, let's go. Another fatherless child, this person says. It is almost always projection when these people say fatherless. I guarantee these people are victims of child abuse from their fathers and they just don't know it. Or they don't know how to conceptualize it, or they've, just decided to suppress it. Because I've had an exceptionally good relationship with my dad. And a lot of the times, this is like a common trope online too. There will be usually feminine people, because this is usually, something thrown at feminine people, specifically women. There's a trope where the person will be like, oh my God, you have a problem with your father and that's why you have blue hair and pronouns. And then the person will literally post a selfie with them, with their father, and their father will be like, I have no we were chilling. I don't give a shit. And it's really funny. It's almost always projection. All right, I think we've gotten all we need. In short, okay, what is up, everybody from the Jaiden Animations fan club, all 175,859 of you and counting. Hope you enjoy the channel. I hope you enjoy my future content. We upload 2 videos a week, sometimes 3. Highly edited by Hypergressive. You should follow him too. We cover a variety of topics on LGBT shit, games, food, technology, your mom, your dad too. We talk about a lot of stuff here, okay? And it's a lot of fun. You can see that on my channel. It's a whole bunch of stuff here. Talk about graphic design, make fun of conservatives, which is always fun. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of fun. You should subscribe, hit the bell. You should also follow my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/CONURECC. I'm doing this live here for the last 2 hours or so. It'll turn into a video later. The Jaiden Animations video was also on Twitch. Hell yeah! Hope you had a fun time. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed my deranged ramblings, and take it easy, I guess. This video is kind of called as Varus. Thanks so much for engaging with my tweets and helping to spread the good Lord's message. If you'd like to be the next Connor Call It, well, all you gotta do, fellow human, is follow me on Twitter at ConnorCC. Retweet my video links when they go live. It's the same as it always is. If you can't figure it out by this point, and I know what the fuck's wrong with you, but you gotta figure it out. If you enjoyed today's video, leave a like. If you'd like, hit up the subscriber bell and hit all notifications on. I'm trying to spruce up the way I say these things. I feel like I do the same thing every goddamn time. It's a work in progress. I don't know. I'm just kind of rambling at this point, trying to remember what the fuck it is I usually say. Remember to leave a like if you like, comment something super cool or whatever down below. And yeah, follow me on Twitter. Look at my Twitch streams. I don't know what you want from me.